Welcome to the 5-7 podcast. I'm your host, Pri, and I'm joined with, what should we call you today? The rolling grill man?
Yeah.
Rolling grill master?
You damn right.
Mike Cygnus. And we're also joined by our first guest on our show, Lindsay Pew.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm excited to be here.
This is definitely a little different, than the regular Friday night, but this is going to be fun.
It will be. I'm excited. Good stuff.
So why don't you give us just a general introduction to who you are and what you've been doing since you got out of high school?
Man, that's a loaded question. Well, graduated high school, joined the military, Army National Guard. That's how I met you.
Right.
Went to basic training as an engineer.
What?
Graduated, went to college. I first joined, my grandpa was in World War II. That was a different generation, and it was really inspiring to see. That was just they talk about the world's the greatest generation. I really truly believe that. So it was one of those things. He was the one who really inspired me to actually join. So joining the National Guard, I never thought I would ever hang out past my 6 years. I really wanted to serve my country, but also go to college at the same time. Big change adjustment getting deployed after 9/11. Deployed twice throughout college. So spent some time in Iraq, spent some time stateside, decided to stay in and to took kind of a gamble on a job, kind of a weird thing, kind of got my full-time job during a bet at drill weekend. One weekend kind of talking a lot of shit to some recruiters and kind of telling them I could outdo their job any day. Talked myself into a full-time job. Ended up re-enlisting right there for another 6 years. I was 22. So my 4-year plan for a college degree went out the window and decided to stay in the military after deployment. And that kind of fell into recruiting. So while I finished college, I kind of bounced around recruiting in St. Louis and was able to be full-time active Army while I was finishing my undergrad. Went to grad school and found myself here 18 years later making a career in the military. And now I run the St. Louis recruiting team in Missouri with the biggest network of recruiters, the biggest mission in the state. And it's a lot of fun, a lot of chaos, but it's been an absolute hell of a ride. One fortunate career. I will say that.
That's cool. That's really cool. It was kind of funny, thinking of basic training, it seems like such a long time ago,
Exactly, it was.
Or, just like the military in general, it just seems like it's a different life, I feel like I was born, I had life, and then I went to the military. I lived like a completely different life. And then I got out of the military and I kind of picked up where I left off with my old one, It
is. I kind of call them chapters in life. So I feel like there's different chapters in each life, and each phase kind of brings you to something new and different. And every chapter kind of unfolds, and you have no idea what's going to happen next. And the way you think it's going to go never is how it actually happens. But that's kind of what makes life so much more fun. So
yeah. I actually like to use the book chapter analogy when looking at life as well, because a lot of times when the cards are kind of stacked against you, I tell people, or they're kind of down. I'm like, look. This is like a book, like a movie. There's the beginning, there's the climax, and then there's the end. This isn't the end of your story. This is the middle of it. You can still write the rest of it.
Absolutely.
And
sure.
And I think it's a good way, or I would say a positive way of trying to look at life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we were E zeros when we came E negative 50s, and Lindsay is now a master sergeant, recently promoted to master sergeant. And why don't you? What was that like?
Honestly, I've had some run-ins with my career, a few Article 15s and some slap on the hands. I mean, I haven't had the most perfect trajectory, we will say.
Sure.
I turned down an E8 twice before I took third time's a charm.
Wow.
They say. So realistically, for me, honestly, it was just a very unexpected thing to stay in the military and make it a career. I've always been really fortunate with my assignments and opportunities, and I feel like the older I get, the more true to myself I am. And so I feel like every decision is kind of come down to what's best for me and my family and where I'm at in my personal place in life. But being still in now and still having a job is probably the best thing I've got going on today. But realistically, I just feel fortunate to still have made it this far, never expecting to stay past my, specialist years as a young punk, causing trouble and blowing up stuff at basic AIT. So yeah,
that was a lot of fun. It was kind of funny when I saw it on Instagram. I immediately thought back to like running in the rain. I'm like, man, I knew this chick when, we were, it would be like hot in the morning and then it would like snow at night. I'm like, man,
misery.
I can't believe, for misery. And I'm like, I can't believe that she's made it so not that it's unbelievable, but just like how much time has kind of passed. And it's kind of funny, like I've never heard anybody say that they've passed up E8 before or passed up a promotion. Yeah.
Well, they're probably just sellouts, it's all right. So
people always complain like, oh, I didn't make the list this time,
No, it wasn't some kind of power struggle or move, or it wasn't anything like that. It was just honestly, it was one of those that after it happened the first time, everybody joked about it was either the dumbest or smartest move I ever made. They were like, either you're the biggest idiot or the smart. And I was like, honestly, it doesn't matter. It's one of those weird things in life where you come to these crossroads, and there's such heavy decisions that you have to kind of just. Everyone's going to give you their advice. It's hard to ignore it because your gut saying one thing, but your other part of your brain, the logical part, saying something else. And right. I'm a gut person. So I'm not really logic is not my thing. I'm not really into I'm always like how am I going to feel with this? I'm kind of a whim decision maker. So for me, it's like I'm practical, pragmatic. But when it came to stuff for promotions and what's best for my family at the time,
right? We
had moved a lot. I've got a little boy. So it's one of those things that I just feel lucky to now have. I have an awesome job. I'm able to, hang out with. I got 20 recruiters on my team. Some phenomenal NCOs, and now I get a chance to be with soldiers again and help lead them, but help also change lives. It's so much more impactful than I ever thought or imagined, and it's way more exciting and challenging than I think I've ever actually imagined. So I feel lucky.
Is there a first sergeant role that you could be for the viewers at home? The way the rank structure goes, when you start off at E0, you're private, then there's PV2, then there's PFC, and then there's specialist, then there's sergeant, then there's staff sergeant, sergeant first class, and then you get to E8, which is master sergeant, but also when you're in charge of a company, you become a first sergeant. And then from there, there's E9, which is you're either a sergeant major if you don't have a battalion, or a sergeant or command sergeant major when you do have your own battalion. I got that right, didn't I?
Perfect. It's like you haven't skipped a beat.
Curious, like how are recruitment levels nowadays? Are they, from when you started, are you seeing them increase? Are they going down? Are you seeing the same kind of activity? I mean, enrollment, what are things looking like now in your area?
People always want to join the military. It's finding qualified people is the name of the game. So, I mean, it's in 18 years, it's changed. And honestly, the last 13 years, I've been primarily in the recruiting battalion. So I've done operations, guidance counseling, worked at MEPS, worked with the RSP, the new soldiers that enlist. It's it's difficult to find qualified people, and the processes have gone so much more technologically advanced that now there's so much more screening done. And there's so many more punk, I hate to say this, but between the ages of 17 and 25, the demographic is different. Finding people who want to enlist, it's always there, but finding qualified people is really difficult. So, and there's so many other factors that we don't control, obviously, like political stuff and money and some of those things.
Right. Have you also experienced anything with like people that are transitioning or anything of that nature, of transgenders?
We have, yes. Yeah. I was actually a MEPS guidance counselor when all of that came down, which is guidance counselors. I was the ones that write all the enlistment contracts for your state. So I was like the National Guard liaison for Missouri. We had two offices, one in St. Louis, one in Kansas City. So I ran the St. Louis office. And so during that transitional time, I was our guidance counselor, and we had to go through all the processing and screening. And we had a few applicants that had inquired about joining as transgender. But being a part of the military during such a challenging and diverse time, when you joined for such different reasons and your values are very, maybe conservative or liberal or going through these changes during this time is just, it's kind of mind-boggling at times to be like, I'm still in the military, and this is a conversation you have to have, about pregnant 17-year-olds or transgender or whatever the case is.
You know what? I never really thought about that. Trying to deal with millennials and deal with them trying to recruit these kids. Because it's there's no such thing as like, I'm triggered. I can't go and do PT this morning. It's like, no, dude, you need to go outside. There was one time, man, where the drill sergeants, we were outside in formation, and they're in the barracks. And then, we get to go back in, and next thing you know, man, like, everybody's shit is out of their wall lockers, and it's like all over the room. You don't know whose stuff is who. And it's like, oh my God, I can't believe we have to clean this up because like somebody's like socks were folded wrong or something.
Mayhem, just mayhem.
So when somebody's socks were folded wrong, everything just got thrown all over.
Yeah, that's like I would say, like, during like the first week, like red phase, it was like that. Like they would do crazy shit like that. But I couldn't imagine, like, I mean, I'm not saying that they can. I'm saying that from what I see on TV and from what I hear on the internet on how millennials are and how they deal with things, I don't see it as a very the idea is to break you down, to kind of build you back up. So, I mean, there has to be a breakdown period, but you have to be willing to let yourself be broken down. And I don't see, millennials these days, from what I see on TV, willing to get broken down like that.
It's just a different time, right? Different time. And that's a very general statement. I mean, there's hundreds of kids that are not like that at all.
Right.
We have, but it's also 1.5% the entire population is eligible for service. So, I mean, you have to look at the population as, it's a super small percentage of the military, and those are all, like us, kind of a freaks of nature that happens to be a part of that. I kind of call it fraternity. Like for us, 20 years later, pick up right where you left off. Battle buddy and basic training. It's like you haven't skipped a beat. It's one of those, it's just military is just different, man. It's just different, it's a different world. So
when you went into the military, you did it because of your grandfather?
I did. Yes. Yep. He was just one of those men you just respected, admired. Someone that always had standards, ethics, values. Just one of those things that. He kind of inspired me to go do it, but I had gone to, my sister had joined the reserves. I went to her basic training graduation at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and watching hundreds of soldiers walk in singing cadence. Yeah. Kind of blows your mind if you've never really seen that. It was just one of those inspiring but powerful moments. And I was like, you know what? I could freaking do this. Yeah. And my dad worked with the National Guard guy. And so I went to a recruiting office like the very next week, talked to a guy, and 2 days later I was enlisted. It was a pretty, kind of a whim decision, but one of the best ones to date. Yeah.
I actually, when I went active, I went to Fort Sill.
Okay.
I was at Lawton, Oklahoma. What a shithole.
Okay.
But, I mean, it was a really great time, though.
Most military places aren't some shitholes.
Yeah, they are. I had a really good time there.
I'm sure you did.
My grandfather, it was pretty much the same thing for me. Like my grandfather, he was in World War II, and there's probably no man I respect more than him. He's still around, and just being around him, it's kind of humbling in a way.
Absolutely, sure.
So when you first got to your first duty station, like your first years in the Guard, what obstacles did you face?
Well, when I first enlisted, engineers were closed. They had just opened up to women. So when I first joined the engineer unit, I was the fourth female in my unit. So it was a really weird transition for everyone that had been in the unit for years, because we had 4 females, and I was 18. I was still in high school. I was a senior in high school. So when I first came back, there was like 6 of us maybe at this time, and it was very unusual because I joined in 2001. So back then it was, it was just different time. Right. So they didn't know how to talk, the whole sexual harassment, sexual assault, all that stuff. So joining an engineer unit, you just kind of jump in with the Joes. Sure. You all go to the field, you all sleep in the same tent, you do everything like everybody else. It's just the same. But it was one of those things, it was different because you're like, okay, well, this is the Army. That's how you're brought up. You don't know any different. Sure. And nowadays I feel like everything is way more PC, way more hypersensitive to everybody's needs, and it's a lot more fluffy now, we'll just say. The military is not as cut and dry as it used to be. I feel like there's so many more there's so much more red tape with stuff now because of stuff like that it's changed a lot. So it's weird being on this side of it because I grew up in the military. I'm not the offended. I don't get offended by hardly anything. I'm probably worse than most of the men I work with. So for me, I'm that person that I say things. I'm like, oh God, shit. I don't want to get reported. I shouldn't have said that out loud, kind of a thing.
You know, I have a
question. I'm that person. So
like say for instance, say two guys, they they want to say something to each other, they want to kind of cuss each other out in a way. Like say some guys like, hey, go fuck off. And you'll say, hey, go eat a bag of dicks. Like
sure.
what do women say to each other?
Most of them say the same thing. I mean,
really?
I've sent my old boss a bag of dicks before, so I can't really say that I'm any better than any of that. So
are there any that, like chick cut downs kind of,
I feel like, there's certain things that people could say ignorantly, but it's weird. There's so few females. There are a lot more females nowadays. Absolutely. I have 4 female recruiters on my team, and I joke all the time that my females are way more. They're easier to deal with than half my men. I call some of my men princesses and divas. Oh my gosh, yeah. Because some of the females, they outwork the men. They don't give me bullshit back. They're very like, got it, Roger, cool, we're tracking. And they're hard motherfucking workers, man, because they've had to dig away a little bit deeper to be, I think sometimes, to be on the same, I don't know, it's weird because you're not part of the boys club. So it's a different way of relating.
Yeah.
Without
I remember
using your vagina. So it's just different.
I remember one time, I think it was like you and M. Dyke, and we were doing something and it really sucked. And you guys weren't complaining. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to say shit. I'm sure these chicks fucking say something. Because these other guys were like saying shit. I'm like, you guys need to shut the fuck up because you're making us look bad over here. The chicks aren't saying anything. You guys
I do laugh. I feel like that's kind of how it is. I feel like a lot of times that I don't know why. I don't know. I'm not sure. But yeah, most of them, no. I can't think of one clever creative thing that some girls are, because I feel like a lot of the women probably say a lot of worse things than the guys, to be honest.
Sure.
They just don't say it around you guys.
So when you got deployed, you got deployed twice, right?
Yes, once was stateside, once was to Iraq.
Okay. And when you went to Iraq, was that you were in college at the time? You didn't have
Oh man, I did. Yes, I was in college. I was 20. I turned 22 over there, so I was 21. I was a junior in college.
Oh yeah, I remember when you got deployed. I was at Fort Sill. I emailed you. Now that
it was we were youngins. I was 21 when I got deployed. At the time, it was like, what the fuck? Yeah,
I got orders right after that, and they were like, you're going to this aviation unit in Korea, and then they're like, in support of enduring freedom. I was like, God, let's do this. This is what I got in for, and I ended up going to this other on the DMZ, and that was awesome. But that's a story for another time. So
sure.
how would you rate your experience as on your deployment to Iraq?
Well, the funny part is back then Facebook wasn't even around. Skype wasn't really around. All these things weren't. It was.
Wasn't that top 8?
Started.
Top 8.
It's weird because back then it was email, and we had shitty internet. So I feel like the communication, all that stuff was so different. Because when you got deployed, you literally were back to old school. We wrote letters a lot. Getting mail was cool. You looked forward to like when it didn't have a sandstorm to go actually, call home. But there's like, we bought calling cards from Sam's and Costco. It sucked. It was pretty ghetto for the first 8 or 9 months because we were early overseas. So, it was pretty ghetto as far as, back then the standard operating procedure was to drive them around in your big, huge truck with your weapon loaded, hanging out the window, driving like you're some gangster downtown. That was the SOP, was to drive around with, your loaded weapon, just be bopping outside the window. And nowadays you're like, what the fuck? That is so not. So it was definitely pretty unrefined back then. We slept out a lot. And as an engineer, you do a lot of field time. You sleep a lot in your trucks. You sleep a lot underneath HEMTs and connexes and stuff like that. So best, worst year of my life. Came home humbling as hell. You come home and you're 22, a veteran. Your friends are bitching about they're not having enough money to go to the bar at Daytona Beach for spring break because they're pissed that somebody lost, a flip-flop at, Cabana Joe's, and you're just kind of like, this is the dumbest conversation I've heard this week. I just saw somebody get blown up last week, and we had to pull, there's like, smelled some dead bodies over here. We'd scrape, just some of the things that you do, you're like, this isn't. So emotionally and mentally, you're in a completely different chapter in life than your other peers the same age, because you just fast forward an entire chapter of your life in 14 months. Right. You miss Christmas, you miss all those things with people at home, and you're like, well, it kind of hardens you a little bit. Not necessarily in a good way, but it just changes you.
Yeah, you know what? I think that I think it is kind of a good thing, because it kind of prepares you for maybe like the harder times in life. Because a lot of times when the hard times come, you see a lot of people fold.
Sure.
And I was told by somebody one time that tough times don't last, but tough people do, and it's something that I always keep in the back of my head.
Absolutely.
So so after you got deployed, you got married. And then you got, and then you had your little guy.
Yes.
How was that experience of becoming a mother and having to still be a soldier?
I was fortunate because I came home and went back to college and was able to kind of talk smack a little bit. Got hired into AGR, an active recruiting job at home in St. Louis. Mm-hmm. So I flipped my college schedule, went to school at night, and then a couple years later, I waited till I was almost 30 to have my son. So I had been in the military, for a while. I joined when I was 18 before I actually had Max. So my career was pretty well established by the time I actually started a family. Mm-hmm. So it was great. I mean, having a kid as I think it was E7 by then. Yeah. I had, maternity leave and all that kind of stuff. So I was off about 4 months. And I was recruiting.
Oh, that's awesome.
So for me, it was great. I mean, the military took care of you as far as, leave and all that kind of great. You get paid while you're off. It's awesome. It was really weird. Being a parent, you can't prepare for. Hands down, the best thing ever is becoming a mom. I mean, that's my favorite role ever. I have a little boy who's 7 now. His name is Max, and he is like my entire world. So having him just changes everything, because it gives you a different reason to live. When you come home from Iraq and you want to help people and you realize that your life is so fortunate here, and we have so many things that are so amazing as citizens here. We have freedom. We can drive. Having rules and policies and things are good things. Going to a country where it's a free for all the time, and people fearing for their lives every day and in different circumstances is a completely different mindset to be in. And so coming home, having that safety, protection of that, and having your family, and then growing a family here is such a different perspective.
Sure.
So being a parent and as a soldier is a very humbling experience.
Do you, because in the military you're kind of taught to weather, harsh environments, like kind of mentally, mm-hmm. And do you, as a parent, do you take any of that kind of stuff and put it into your day-to-day life, like when you're with your little guy? Like, say, for instance, when I'm with as soon as I walk out the door with my kids, like, I'm looking both ways. I'm seeing what's going on, who's there, who's driving. Mm-hmm. This guy's been parked there for freaking 2 days.
Sure.
I'm going to have to look into this.
Situationally aware.
Situational awareness. Good. Yeah, that's right. I'm in the orange.
100%. Yeah, no, it's funny. I mean, my son asked for a bow and arrow for Christmas and a pull-up bar. Sorry, I'm laughing because he's all about, he wants to, he thinks the military is the coolest thing ever right now. So, it's one of those things that, teaching him to just be prepared and understand life. And, I'm always like, pay attention to your surroundings, be aware of people. He's extremely socially observant, though. He's really cognizant of, I'm a social butterfly, and he's 100% my personality. But he's extremely observant, and he takes in everything socially around him. So he'll ask why this person asked this, or how come they seemed off, or they seem sad. Like, he's really aware of stuff. So I try to always, we talk about a lot of stuff, all the time, just because, I think it's important to instill in young people, all those kind of just safety things, but just being aware of life, because everybody's so self-centered and focused. I feel like nowadays they don't observe other things around them going on.
Yeah, I refuse to, when you go to like a restaurant, you see people putting, kids, and they give them their phone, and like their kids are kind of in their phone. And I absolutely refuse to do that. My kids will sit there and they'll draw with their crayons, and they'll talk to people,
like have a conversation with a human, because that's what's going to outlast everything else down the road, is communicating with a live person face to face will never go out of style.
Yeah.
Shaking someone's hand will never go out of style.
I think
manners will never go out of style.
I think by the time that they're doing job interviews, just looking somebody in the eyes will get them a job.
Sure.
So.
We hope. Or
yeah.
wink,
Can
you never know.
Can you believe he physically came in for the interview? I can't believe it. He didn't send us a video or nothing.
Yeah. We're going to give him a promotion.
Sure, right.
So tell us about your side gig. Like, what made you want to get into Rodan and Fields? So
after becoming a parent, I'm not sure if you guys can relate, but it changes you. It changes your role as a spouse. Yeah. And a lot of people can kind of lose themselves in that role. Everything you used to kind of do selfishly before you had a kid, you kind of put in the back burner. Your needs and wants become secondary.
100%.
Or whatever. And so you kind of can lose yourself. So for me, I had finished my master's degree. I had a 1-year-old at home, and I'm somebody who consistently strives for something else. Like I need to always be doing something to self-improve. So for me, it was one of those that I wasn't looking for anything else. I had too much stuff already going on, but I really was wanting to something was missing, though. I just felt like a part of me as Lindsay was missing. I was really focused on my job. Things were going fantastic at work. Personally, it was great. I went to dinner with a couple girlfriends, and I was like, hey, what is this gig you're doing? You're posting about it all the time. And they're like, hey, it's this company called Rodan and Fields. And I kind of made fun of this stuff. I was like, dude, I have a master's degree now. I'm not going to do some side, peddling, pushing shit. This is so beyond. This is so 1998,
I'm not getting involved in your pyramid scheme.
Yes. And so I was completely kind of a bitch about it. I was like, dude, and I kind of made fun of it. I was pretty snarky and pretty, I was very, just unaware and completely uneducated about any of it. So I was an ignorant consumer. I had no idea about it until I actually had a conversation and learned about the company. And it's 2 dermatologists that went to Stanford, educated women. They started Proactive years ago, decided they wanted to come up with a different way of handling skincare and having a business that could handle and platform to other consumers to help grow and make their own. So they prepackaged stuff that had phenomenal products, great price point, absolutely remarkable. And now they're taking the entire, consumer industry by storm. And now they're the number 1 skincare brand in the U.S., soon to be Australia. They're in Canada. They're going global. And now they have just surpassed so many household names that took 30, 40 years to become benchmarks in the anti-aging or just even skincare world, which I know to men it's like whatever, but everyone washes their face. So it's just really great. It's really great skincare. It's one of those things that's just premium skincare that instead of going to a dermatologist saying my 14-year-old has acne, I got to pay $200 for whatever to stain my sheets and make my 14-year-old have confidence in freshman year and get a date, whatever.
Yeah.
You can get a consultant.
That's a big deal.
And they say, hey, here's some, here's our products. They're proven to work. If they don't work, we'll get your money back. So it's one of those things that it's about a lot of it just authenticity, being yourself. It's like everything. It's just trying to find your own confidence. But I was like, you know what? I'd love to have an outlet. If the products are awesome, have some fun with it. If I can pay for my own stuff, cool. And so I kind of started thinking it would just be like a couple $100 a thing, never growing into anything beyond that. And now I've got a team of over 60. And we've got I'm on a team of $1 million earners that they've all completely quit their jobs. Now them and their spouses and kids are, they're all 6-7 figure income earners. So it's now my retirement job where once I'm able to retire from the military, I have this residual income coming in right now. And I have a team of some phenomenal leaders that are, some are workers, some are moms, some are, full-time, part-time. It's the everyday people that want to do something on the side that have now turned it into something else. So it's fun. So
I think I read that Rodan and Fields. Am I saying that right? Rodan and Fields?
Yes,
no? Rodan.
I know it's
Rodan?
funny. It's both their last names, so it's Rodan and Fields.
Okay, it's kind of funny because I had someone who was from Oregon, and they're like, I'm like, is it Oregon or Oregon? They're like, it's Oregon. I'm like, okay, so tomato.
Sure.
I think I read that they've grown between like 300 to 700% in like the year of 2017 to 2018. It was unbelievable. I don't want to say unbelievable, but that's definitely crazy. It's
crazy. So it's I don't know. It's exciting. It's good stuff.
When did you know that? When you were like, okay, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to do this. At what point were you like, this is going to work? I have something. I think that I can use this as a second form of income. And when I get out of the military, this is what I'm going to do.
Probably about 6 months in, actually.
Wow.
I mean, I've been doing it about 3 years now, but about 6 months in, it's like anything in life. Success breeds success.
Sure.
The people that I kind of partnered with, the girls that kind of were like, hey, check it out. If you don't want to do it, great, get your money back. There's no risk involved if you don't. So 6 months in, they were earning these trips to Mexico and, Canada and all these cool places doing these crazy things. And I was like, oh my gosh, like you just started this 6 months before I did. It was one of those that, wait, right. What? You just quit your job? You're a nurse practitioner. Like what? I don't understand. Like, it was one of those that your kids go to private school, they do this. Like it was one of those, you're adding up their life. You're like,
yeah,
wait, what? You're not any different than me. You're probably busier than I am. So it was
Can I see your financial statements?
But it was one of those that you really, and you're like, well, I barely work it. If I was like, I don't want to try, just kind of fuck off with it and have fun. I make, X amount. And I'm like, well, I could put some effort and time into it and do what you do. So it was one of those weird kind of, all right, if I took this seriously, I could actually probably have some fun with this and really make this a worthwhile venture and make this a real investment. So it was kind of a turning point for me. And everybody, millionaires all have 5-7 streams of income. So I was like, well, I might as well start at least a couple extra now while I'm in my 30s to have residual income coming in. So when the time's right, I don't want to overstay my welcome in the military. Some people stay a little too long past their expiration date. I don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure I can exit the formation at a valuable time for the organization, for myself. I'm not overdoing the value that I'm bringing or taking away from wherever I'm at in life. So I wanted to have a solid exit strategy that's on my terms. I can work from my home or cell phone wherever. So it's pretty awesome.
I do consulting, IT consulting, and I do a lot of it. I can do a lot of it from home, which is awesome because it's like, I don't need to be there. I can log in remotely and I'll take care of anything that you need,
Sure.
And I think that it's important for people to come up with another strategy of income. There's nothing wrong with, having your money kind of work for you in a way, because the days of the 9 to 5, you put in 30 years and you get a pension, those days are fucking gone. They're gone, and I think like our generation is the first generation that has come up with like this. We've come up with this, like, you don't have to live at work. You don't have to live at work. You don't have to live the job. You can have a happy life too. Where say the generation before us was, you go to work every day, you do it. The mom stays at home. She doesn't do it. It's like our generation kind of, like everybody can have their cake and eat it too, in a way.
Sure. Well, absolutely. I feel like, especially when you have a kid, I'm divorced now, I'm single parent now, but I feel like the biggest value I can bring to my son is having a happy mom that loves what she does. And I also want to show him what success looks like. Like I want him to show that like I can work hard, but I can play hard. And I want to show that I do love my job and my career. I do love, and he does a lot of it with me. Like he asks, we're packaging up some prizes or some presents for stuff or giveaways. And he's like, is this your Rodan and Fields stuff, Mom? Are you going to another launch? Like, I want to help you do this, or I want to help. It's funny. He's really interested in my business. And so it's cool. He's like, is this an RNF thing? Or are you going out of town for, I've earned some trips. Mm-hmm. So, we've gone places, and it's cool for him to see that. I want him to see what success looks like too. So that he wants to aspire to be successful. Also see that, people can have all kinds of forms of jobs. There can be the traditional role, conservative. I wear a uniform every day. But I also have another playful job that gets to be girly and Lindsay, because I feel like as a mom and as me, I needed an outlet that had nothing to do with military. I mean, at my level, I'm the only female. So I work with, everybody, which is nothing wrong with dudes. It's great. But we have different interests a lot of times. I want to relate to other encouraging and intelligent women that are driven and inspiring to change things and not just accept status quo, and not in like in a vagina rules, but in just like I want to go do some cool shit, and I think it's awesome to be around people who are wanting to grow too, in whatever way that is. It's fun. It's fun.
Well, at work, there's like 8 swinging Richards in my department. And I'd love to have some chicks, to kind of break it up a little bit.
That's so funny. Yeah. Everyone's getting swinging Richards. Yeah. Yeah.
But I totally agree with you. I think it's important for your kid to see like a woman who's, kind of making her way, because, when he gets older, he's going to look for that. Not some chick who's like, so what do you do? It's going to be like, no, actually, what do you do?
Right.
What do you bring to the table too?
Yeah. My recruiting team we're Area 7. So I joke, everything I do is 7 up, like up your game, everything. Right. I talk about Lucky 7. We kind of coined this whole 7 up. So I'm always like, what do you do up your game? Up your, whether it's professionalism, your persona, your personality, your work ethic, your drive, motivation. It's always upping everything. I'm always like, you can always improve in some way, an area in your life. So for me, it's like I bring that home to my son. I'm like, well, buddy, we talk about failure a lot because I feel like if you can't accept failure, if you, that punk that can't deal with that, how can you deal with success in life? Because you're going to have so many failures. So I'll be like, hey, did you fail at something? And we talked about it because I want him to be able to accept defeat just like you can other things. We talk about where you can improve and what you can do better and how you can be kind and all those kind of things to kind of help him want to improve in different areas of his life too. So he can learn that stuff.
Me and my kid, we were playing Go Fish, and I kept winning. And he was like, I don't want to play anymore because you keep winning. And I'm like, well, why don't you get better then? Well, he's like, well, how do I get better? And I'm like, well, this is what you do. And I started explaining things to him. And I saw like the light go on in his head, and he's like, okay. And then I swear maybe four times later after that, we played and he wins most of the time.
That's so awesome.
Because he's able to memorize a lot of things that I say and stuff, which is important, but it's, teaching them defeat because it's important. Everybody loses. I don't know a single person that has won 100% in their life, and it's important that they know that they pick themselves up and they keep on going,
Sure. Absolutely.
So what is your diet like?
That is not a good question, man. I do not have a good diet. I just ate buffalo chicken dip for dinner and a whole Hershey's chocolate bar with a couple glasses of wine, and I just dunked it in some peanut butter. That was my dinner tonight. It was not.
Wine is good for you.
It is not. I don't. I am so bad. That is not a good question. I am the most undisciplined eater. I am not good about that. I'd like to be though.
They say a glass of wine is good for your heart, and it's a natural blood thinner as well.
Well, that's good to know. I learned something new.
And you had chicken in the buffalo chicken dip, so I'm looking for positives here.
No, my diet is not awesome. I kind of go in spurts depending on what I'm doing and where I'm at. So I'm not the best. I buy healthy food. I eat healthy when I'm here with my son. But if I'm not with him, I'm kind of a. Like last night I had Sour Patch Kids and a Coke for dinner at 8:30 in my hotel room when I was traveling for work. So that was probably that was my dinner because I was just busy. So it was one of those I was like, this is a poor choice here, but that's all right. We're rocking on.
So what about your fitness regimen? What kind of PT are you doing?
I am all over the place with that. I don't have a gym membership. As far as all over the place, I just do my own thing here at the house. So I have my son all the time. I have a few weekends, besides drill weekend, another weekend, I have him most of the time. So my schedule's kind of crazy. So taking him to and from school every day, I don't have a ton of time to do PT. So I don't pay for anything because I feel like I just worked in it at the house.
Right.
So we will do push-ups. I do a lot of stuff with him. So we do push-ups, sit-ups, pull-up stuff here. We bike ride a lot. We're really active outdoor stuff. He plays 1,000 sports. So I play with him. So it's one of those things that the other day I went to run. I'm like, okay, bro, you're going with me. Wakes up. So now it's one of those things that now I can take him with me. It was nice enough there. We went biking. So I try to do active stuff 3 to 4 days a week, 100%. But even today I came home from work. He came home from whatever. I was like, hey, we're knocking out push-ups and sit-ups. So we're doing planks in the living room. So cool. I'm kind of random about stuff, but I just make it games. I feel like he's competitive as hell. And so if I have him with me, I'm like, okay, cool, we're going to knock this out. But I do like going to there's a bar class by my house. I have classes too. So if I can squeeze it in when I don't have my son, a couple times a week, I go up there for an hour. It's like a Pilates, yoga, ballet class that's makes you feel like you're the weakest person ever because they do so many squats and lunges and all kinds of craziness. But it's fun.
Do you ever try yoga?
I do, but it's I'm not a big yoga fan. It's too slow. And it's kind of just I don't know. It's not exciting, and I like fast, crazy music, and I need something that's going to I don't know. It's not for me.
I've recently started doing it, and I think it's fucking awesome. Maybe it's like the change of pace that I need, because normally I've got like, Slayer and Eminem playing on my when I'm lifting weights playlist,
Yeah.
But it's like a good kind of like relaxing type of thing.
Have you done hot yoga before?
No, I haven't.
That I actually like. It's like you sweat your ass off in like a sweat box. It's crazy.
That sounds like fucking hell to me.
See, I actually enjoy that. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of like a chaos. I don't know. It's weird.
Pre gets pretty slippery when he's sweaty.
Yeah, I do.
He gets pretty glossy. He's not a guy you want to be around.
It's not the most attractive class. Everybody's a slippery, disgusting, literally a hot mess is the best way to describe it.
He turns into a salamander when he gets just 5 minutes of sweat.
We used to play basketball. In his backyard, like in high school. And, say we were like losing or something. I'm like, okay, dude, I'm going to go play down low. I'm taking my shirt off and I'm going to go sweat on everybody.
It's awesome. That's awesome.
Those are really good
guy.
Bring it back. Bring it back. I like it.
Okay. So what does the future hold for you?
That's a great question. I feel like all planned out people have this like great 2 to 4 year plan of what they're going to do, where they're going to go. Realistically for me, next couple of years, I want to buy a house out here in St. Louis. I want to keep my same job, to be honest. Realistically, I could retire here in St. Louis the next 5 years and be done. I would be perfectly happy with that with my military career. Come 3 years, I'd be eligible for Sergeant Major. So if that opportunity comes around in a couple years, to be honest, I'm just going to cross that bridge if it chooses to present itself at the time. It's not something that's on my radar right now, to be honest, because right now I really love the balance of life I have right now, and I like where things are going.
Okay.
I want to continue to grow my side business a lot more and continue to grow my team. Like my recruiting team right now, there's always goals and objectives. We're always consistently pushing for the next benchmark goal, whatever it is. So right now, I just turned 36. I want to kind of get in the best shape of my life. I'm single again, so I'm kind of enjoying this chapter and just being. So right now, I'm kind of trying to just kind of be the best version of myself in every way possible, personally, professionally, spiritually, emotionally. So when the next chapter comes with another person, if that presents itself, I'm kind of ready for it. So I don't have any benchmark goals of job this or person that. I want to buy a house. My goal is just to be happy, to be honest. I mean,
right.
Are you a New Year's resolution person?
Hell no.
Yeah, okay, good.
No,
that's
not my thing.
That's what I like to hear.
No.
That's what I like to hear.
I think it's cool to have goals, but no, I mean, nah.
Come on, guys. Why are you hating on the New Year's resolution, folks?
No, because this is how I feel. If you want to make a change,
New year,
make it
new
today.
Me, guys. Come
make
on.
Make it today. We joke that New Year, new me has been a joke all week at work. Every time we see somebody, something different. I'm like, make a change. Make it today, man. Make it now. Don't wait for a decade or a day or a month to start. Do it the next day.
I'm the same way. 100%.
I like it. Good stuff. Well, cool.
Well, hey, I really appreciate you coming on. This is a lot of fun.
I appreciate you having me on. It's fun.
I gotta say, can I say something? I think this is like the equivalent of Tim Tebow on his first date. I think
Tim Tebow on his first date?
Yeah, I think we blew our load with this one. I mean, this was.
So are you just going to go downhill after this?
No, this was great. It's going to be hard to top this one. It's like that first date that went a little too well. I'm afraid of the next date, but this was great. This is great. I love this.
If the first date,
Well, I don't think awkward at all. I think that this is a good, hey, 2 guys, one girl. I'm sure that a lot of people have stories like that.
Yeah, no shit.
I'm sure they all have stories like that. So
I think we definitely got to do another round of this at some point in time in the future.
Yeah. We'll definitely next time we come in, we could talk more Rodan and Fields. Sorry, and
maybe more millennial or more millennium promises from resolutions.
I want to hear some
more
stories.
Broken dreams and hopes.
Yeah.
More smashed hopes and dreams.
Before we go, I want to hear a story about broken dreams and crashed hopes.
Dude, every day we crush dreams. I always joke with my guys because every day we get people going downtown and list, and someone tells them, your finger's jacked up, or you have an STD, or your pregnancy test came back, and every day there's broken dreams. Every day.
They're like, oh.
So I'm always like, hey guys, way to crush dreams today. It's good stuff. So every day.
healthcare, man. This Obamacare doing it.
Hey, you learn all kinds of weird stuff about. Yeah, it's an interesting profession to say the least. But hey, it has its rewards as well. So.
Well, awesome. Definitely.
No more crushing dreams this week. You gentlemen have fun. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll see ya.